I grew up in the Fairfax area when it was what you would call a Jewish shtetl. In Yiddish, it means like a small town. So it was nothing but, well, Cantor's is still there, but generally it was just Jewish bakeries and religious stores, you know. But within the last 10 years, it's become very hip for galleries. Again, all the street wear, kind of skateboard clothing, and now actually for restaurants and bars. So there's like some, you know, really good animal. My favorite hamburger place is Golden State, which is right there. So, and then there's a brand new bar called Rosewood. What is it called? Something like that. Yeah, Rosewood Tavern. So, but now, yeah. So now it's a very happening kind of place. But then again, something had to happen. Because the neighborhood, most of the people who were living there before are passed away, they died. Because a lot of them were Holocaust survivors. And so this is the generation where they're turning 90 and, you know. I completely disagree. All my characters are from real life. You know, I see him more often than I see what you would think is a traditional person, you know? So for me, or maybe I'm bored with the real world, and I needed to create my own existence, my own surreal or other world that I could live in. In fact, that's what I kind of did with my characters. From Toby or my character Shushu, I wanted to create a world that I would rather participate in, you know, rather than dealing with the crap of this place. No, it's all the same, but it's just more intense. It's for me, when I do create these characters, I'm trying to make a statement about the human condition that we live in. So each character comes from my sketchbook. So what I'll do is, I don't even know what I'm really thinking about. So I'll come over and draw. And after I draw in my sketchbook over and over and over again, I will discover a character or something that keeps coming back. And then I'll go, okay, I keep drawing him. What the fuck is this all about? And from that, I put meaning to it. So it's not like I sit there and go, oh, I want to draw this, and I draw this. Most of this is from my subconscious, where I'll let it filter through meals, traveling on the plane, cafes, and from that I understand what is really going on. Even the cave dwellers worked on images that maybe depicted what life was about, but they did it in a very abstract way. I grew up at a time, and maybe this is the point you're trying to get across. I grew up at a time when TV was like everything, okay? So that's where I got my information. TV was big, it grew to the point where it was mass. Everyone watched it, every child watched Saturday morning cartoons. And so for me, even the cartoons that were original for adults, like Warner Brothers cartoons, when I grew up, was on TV. They used to be opening as shorts for adult features, and the humor was very adult. But they were broadcast as reruns on TV, and I grew up with. So I grew up with cartoons as almost as my language on how I would express myself. So I've been drawing since I was a child. It's all I ever wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist since I was a little kid. So for me, that's what I could relate to. I related to Mad Magazine, you know? That's where I got my satire. Because Mad Magazine would write about politics and social life and pop culture, and how they would handle things as a parody. So me growing up with TV, with Mad Magazine, with and then also my attraction turned into like with magazines like the New Yorker and stuff. I was very attracted to those cartoons, to humor, and almost the exaggerated notion of it, like National Lampoon. But then also comedians were something that I was very attracted to. So from that. That became my own language. And so when I was a child, I would talk about being a child. Now, I'm still a child in an adult body. So, but I've lived a certain amount of life and I have a certain kind of perspective. So that's why I feel I still draw in this way. But what I talk about isn't childish things. For me, I talk about things of not so much what adult would be, but it's life. It's being human, living your life, breathing, wanting to create, wanting to touch another person, trying to, as an artist, try to create work that talks about the times we're living in. Actually, what I didn't mean to become an illustrator. That wasn't my goal. Since I was a child, my goal was to be an artist. Period. But when I didn't study art formally, and I was putting together my own portfolio. But what I discovered with one of my best friends was this artist named Greg Clark, that we started taking trips to New York, and. I don't know if it's the easiest way, but it was like one particular way that we're able to get published or to make a living as an artist was through magazines and newspapers. So that's how I ended up becoming an illustrator. I was really good at it. I wasn't necessarily just illustrating. So the term illustrator is very wrong, because what we would do is we were paid to conceptually come up with a unique visual image that would grab the attention of a viewer for a story, for like an article. So understand the thesis and create a strong visual image that will drive somebody in. Or in advertising, they would hire me to create an image that would talk about the unique selling point. Now, also, you also get the wrong idea of the term illustrator is that you're illustrating but the art directors, the designers that would hire me were hiring me for my own particular voice. So I had my own style. So it wasn't like I would draw on other people's style, or I would use any style to get a solution. So they were asking me in my own language to come up with something. So that's where I found illustration at the time very fascinating. And I did it from either, it was like the New York Times op-ed, it could be political, it could be social, it could be a story about, like it was LA Style magazine about heroin use, about this TV writer who was a heroin addict, to a story in Rolling Stone magazine about a surfer who died, a champion surfer died while surfing. It could be so there's so many different types of articles that were interesting. But at the same time, I did campaigns for Gatorade, Mercedes-Benz, celebrity cruises, a lot of things. And you had to work fast, and I was good at it. So, but I got to a certain point in my life where I went to see what my legacy was. And when you start looking back at magazines and newspapers, what do people do? They recycle them, or they use them to pick up dog shit overall. So for me, I wanted to remove myself from the limitations of an editor or an art director and the boundaries of what I can create. So if I stop doing these commercial projects, I wanted to see what I would create as an artist in my own right, and understand the themes that I wanted to produce and the body of work that was all my own, and not from somebody coming to me going, here's a story on terrorism, can you do a piece? Even though it's still fascinating and I still enjoy the idea of it, and if someone came to me with a good story, I wouldn't necessarily say no. But overall, I wanted to remove that, so I removed that, basically leaving a career to create a new career. It just happened to be art, and it happened to be me painting or drawing the way I normally do.